I'm going to record here and upload at the university. So let's continue with the mouse in this chapter. Ours, said the child passionately, our territory, and was gone again. Leaving all dignity behind him, Manny Rat dove through a window in the dollhouse, scattering startled guests all around him, then very cautiously lifted up his head and looked out in time to see the elephant being carried off in a string-bound bag by the bittern. As the outcries of the company subsided, he heard again the whispering of the oak leaves and steady war beat in the nutshell drum. The dead guard lay on the platform, his whiskers stirring lightly in the morning breeze. A shadow passed over the body. There was a heavy flapping, a thump on the roof, and the bittern settled himself into place on the tower. The rats inside all held their breath and waited. A heavy stone bounced off the platform, and the house shook slightly. "Higher and to the left," said the bittern. Manny Rat peeped carefully from the window and saw nothing. "Iggy," he whispered. "What?" said his lieutenant from the other side of the room. One of the lithe young theatrical beauty rats had thrown herself into his arms at the first sign of danger, and he was well contented with his work. "Don't ask me what," hissed his master. "Look out your window and see what they're doing now." Iggy disentangled himself from the distressed beauty and put his head out the window, caught the second stone full in the face, and fell back lifeless. The ladies recommenced their screaming. "That's it," called the bittern to the oak tree. "You've got the range now." "Very good," said the frog, and sent another rock whistling through the window. The catapult he employed for the purpose was the mouse father. He had been reassembled and specially modified, and the hind legs of the long-departed tin donkey now replacing his arms in such a way that the kicking action made him an effective weapon. In order that the force of his motion might not hurl him from the tree, he had been lashed securely to a makeshift platform tied to a crotch of the oak. Beside the father was a seal, the rods in her nose turning slowly as she winched up a bag full of rocks from the kingfisher on the ground below. The spare parts can stood on the platform, its contents scattered all around it. There were a beer can opener, a pair of miniature pliers, a little screwdriver, a sardine can key, and a tangle of fine copper wire, an array of clockwork jumbled together, with the tools indicated many choices of action open to the father and son, from string climbing to fiddle playing. The kingfisher's hook and lines completed the total of the sticky pages. Group's equipment. The father had asked to have the good luck coin near him, and it lay there now, its uppermost side proclaiming silently, "Your lucky day is." The elephant, still without a word, stood near, awaiting her part in the action, and next to her was the mouse child, drumming as regularly as the frog could wind him. Having worked out with his father the strategy to be followed in the coming hours, he was now content to be a drummer boy until the battle should be won. "We can't keep them inside indefinitely," said the father as he hurled another stone at the enemy. "Manny Rat's no coward, and he'll find some of striking back in a matter of minutes." A squawk from the bittern attested the truth of the observation. Manny Rat had gnawed a hole in the roof and it had attempted attack from the rear, but was put down again quickly. "We'll move as fast as we can," said the frog. He watched as the leaves as a kingfisher flew to the bottom of the pole and attached the lines of the winds-up to the forward squad. The other ends of the line were made fast to the crossbar of a capstan fashioned from two strong sticks and mounted by Frog on the platform. Now, he hitched the elephant to the crossbar and wound her up. Round and round she walked, turning her bar, and the foragers were dragged through the weeds to rise swaying up through the leaves to the platform. Next, Frog picked up a bundle of coiled lines and hooks and stepped into the bonzo can as the breathless kingfisher returned, picked up the can's towing girdles, and took off. "Rats!" bellowed the airborne fortune-teller as he approached the dollhouse, the empty canvas fingers of his gloves sticking out of the can. "Rats, hear this!" The angry murmur in the house subsided, and the frog continued. "Rats, the hand of fate is upon you," he boomed. "Resistance is useless. All is lost. Do not stir." The can was lowered to the dollhouse roof, and the frog stepped out, while the kingfisher appropriated the poison spear arsenal with the bittern patrol, and the bittern patrolled the doors and windows to ensure the fortune-teller's safety. Having made certain that the roof was strongly fastened, Frog secured 4 double lines to the corners with large fish hooks, setting them down deep in the wood. A 5th line was attached to the porch, and then Manny Rat, fuming inside his house, saw the little black and white dog on the bonzo can glide upwards past the window as the frog took off again. "A dog shall rise," he whimpered, and was sick at heart. Not yet all ready to give up the fight, however, he crept out to the window, saw the lines trailing from the roof, and saw what Frog was doing at that moment on the railroad gantry. He snarled defiantly and went to work with his teeth again, this time gnawing at the floor. In the tree, the mouse child, the seal, the elephant, and the ex-forward squad wind-ups waited, silent, while minutes passed until they heard the whistle of a freight approaching on the tracks. "Now is the time," the child said. "And where is Uncle Frog?" "Here," answered the panting frog as he landed on the platform. With the kingfisher's help, he made fast all his lines to the capstan's bar. Capstan bar, and hitched the ex-foragers to it in tandem rows, the elephant at their head, the danceless bear, and the roarless lion, and lame blind moldy goat, and all the others took their place and felt their springs wound tight. The freight train whistle blew again much closer this time, and they heard the clacking of the rails. "Now!" said Frog. The battered toys strained at the capstan. The lines ran through the creaking clothesline pulley on the railroad gantry, drew taut and quivered as the fish hooks dug into the dollhouse roof. The platform and the oak tree lifted slightly, but the lashings held. The crossbar wound around, the lines inwinding slowly, climbing row on row, the stick that was the capstan drum. "It's coming," said the frog, and he put his shoulder to the bar. The bittern, still on duty at the watchtower, gripped the parapet more tightly with his feet and flapped his wings to keep the balance as the dollhouse slid across its platform toward the railroad tracks. It tilted off the edge and swung in a long arc to the gantry, accompanied with it by one collective wail from all the rats inside. Now the house was hanging from the clothesline pulley, poised directly over the tracks as the engine of the freight train passed beneath it. "Rats, farewell," said the frog, and hauled away on the trip line fastened to the dollhouse porch. "Jump, rats," he commanded. The house tipped sharply, flags and blunting fluttering in the freight train's passing. The bittern flew up off the tower, and the rats poured out of the dollhouse doors and windows, thumping onto the roofs of the boxcars, rattling below them. Picking themselves up in amazement, the cream of the rat society, and all the grizzled fighters and their wives, the beauties and their gentlemen, the dowagers, the gaunt rats, the hustlers and the bravos and the golden youth, all stood on the boxcar roof and watched the dump recede along the curving track and vanish in the distance and the haze of autumn. The bluebird jay, arriving later on the scene than was his wont, he had missed the main part of the action, and although confused, he was still concise. "Rats railroaded," he informed the world at large, and let it go at that. "Now," said the frog, and the elation of the party in the oak tree had quieted a little, "we must return the dollhouse to the platform, and let us not forget to nail down as quickly as we can." The bittern and the kingfisher took off immediately and set to work. "We've done it," said the father. We have endured, and we have fought, and we have won our territory." "Have you indeed?" said a quiet voice below them. Manny Rat, his poisoned spear in one paw, climbed wearily up to the platform and looked around him at the little group. "We almost won," said the mouse child. His courage now at last gave way, and he began to cry. "Oh, poor little mouse child." "Almost," whispered the father. "Goodbye, my little son." The elephant stood behind him, and he felt her eye upon him. Silently, he said goodbye to her, and silently received her answer, as Manny Rat picked up the beer can opener and moved towards the child. In that moment, Frog, noting that all the catapult stones were gone, seized the first object within reach, the good luck coin. Holding on the father's donkey-leg arms, he laid the coin on them and quickly wound them up. "Hold me back," the father whispered. "Don't let go yet." For the first time that day, Manny Rat found something to laugh at. "Hold him back," he shouted gleefully. He crossed the platform to the father and looked down at him where they leaned against the branch that he had been lashed to. "Yes, hold the hero back," said Manny Rat. "He mustn't hurt me." Then he snarled and brought his face and the beer can opener close to the father. "Smashing you and that brat of yours won't satisfy me now," he said. "I won't rest content until every blasted wheel and gear and every little trashy piece of your tin is scattered far and wide. Then let us see whether you or Manny Rat shall fall." The father's eyes were on the coin before him. "You will succeed," it said with silent letters. He felt the point of the beer can opener in his tin, and saw the eyes of Manny Rat fixed on his own. "Let go," he said the frog. The spring-coiled power was released, and the donkey legs flew up. The brass coin caught Manny Rat square in the mouth, knocked out his teeth, and flung him headlong from the platform. The kingfisher and the bittern, returning to the oak tree, saw him bump from branch to branch, scattering leaves and teeth about him until he fell to the earth. There was silence in the tree, and then from below came a rending wail, a chilling cry of pure despair. "No teeth!" wept Manny Rat. "I'm finished, I am done, no teeth at all, no teeth at all." And off into the dump he took his broken spirit, his aching bones, and the good luck coin that had undone him. The completeness, the overwhelming finality of their victory left everyone speechless in the oak tree. Then a tiny giggle broke up from the lame, blind, moldy goat. A three-legged bear chuckled rustily, then began to roar with laughter. One by one, the others joined in, until all Wind-Ups and the frog, the kingfisher, and the bittern whooped with hysterical mirth that sent echoes leaking on the rubbish mountains ringing from the tin can slopes. The startled swallows heard, and flew up from the wires along the tracks, like notes of music ringing from their staves. All of the Dump, too, from the valley of the trash fires to Midway to the silent carousel, heard that laughter and knew that Manny Rat had fallen. Gradually, squeak by squeak, rattle by rattle, gasp by gasp, the din subsided. There was silence again. The elephant, still harnessed to the capstan at the head of the forge squad, was facing the mouse's father's back, and her one eye shone with curious brilliance. A rusty whirring sound in her works as the last unwinding coil of her spring released itself. She moved the capstan bar a creaking inch, and then came to the father's field of vision. She tried to speak, but was overcome by emotion, then tried again. "Well done, sir!" she burst out, then sobbed so hard the platform shook, and all the Wind-Ups rattled with her. "Oh no," the father said. "You mustn't cry, my dear. I beg your pardon, madam. I cannot bear to see you cry. Oh, please be happy now. We have won at last. Our time of suffering is over." "I am so happy," said the elephant, then sobbed louder than before. "Well," said the kingfisher. He laughed a ratcheting laugh, then coughed and cleared his throat. He peeled a bit of oak bark from the branch he stood on, fussed with it, and then shifted from one foot to the other. "Well, he said, I guess I'm off now." But he hesitated hopefully. "Can't you stay?" said the seal. "Won't you stay and be our uncle, like Uncle Frog?" begged the mouse child. "All right," said the kingfisher, "I will." "What about me?" demanded the bittern. "Must I take up my lonely life in a bog and marsh if all this has never happened?" "I had thought you only wanted to be left to yourself," said the father. "It's too late for that now," said the bittern in a voice as dismal as ever. "Let me be an uncle." "We should be delighted to have you," said the father. "Now we shall have a house and a family with 3 uncles," said the child happily. "Remember when you said it wasn't possible, Papa? Remember? And I said I wanted Ireland for Amana, and you said—" "That will do," said the father. An awkward silence descended on the party. The mouse father and the elephant, unable to avert their eyes, continued to look directly at each other. The father tried to hum a tune, gave up. Then he and the elephant both spoke at the same time. "You must excuse my son's impertinence," said the father. "And does he still?" asked the elephant. Neither heard the other, and both laughed. "I beg your pardon," said the father. "Please go on, you were saying." "I was saying, does he still want me for a mamma?" said the elephant. "Oh yes," said the child, "and I know that Papa, I can speak for himself," said his father, and forthwith lapsed into silence. "Will he?" prompted the elephant gently. "He hardly knows how to begin," said the father. "He has come to admire, more than that, to love someone so far above him that he dare not hope that she will reciprocate his feelings." "Ah," said the elephant, "though perhaps a little taller, she has never been above him. Were he to speak to her, he might find an interested listener, a listener who has seen and learned much, who knows at last the true worth of brave and gallant gentlemen she met long ago, when she was young and foolish, and thought the dollhouse was hers." "It is yours now," said the father. "Only if you offer it," said the elephant. "You fought for it and won it." "I do offer it," said the father, "and myself, if you will have both." "I will," said the elephant. The swallows, who note by note had flown up to the wires, once more were scattered as the echoes started up anew. "Hurrah!" shouted all the voices in the oak tree. "Hurrah!" And once again, hurrah! Alright, Christy, we'll start on chapter 9 tomorrow. There's still more to go, and I don't know where it's going. But it is coming, and something tells me it is going to be great. Maybe there's more Manny to come. I don't know. It could be. In the meantime, I'm going to go to the library and upload this. Upload. Sleep well. Keep calm. Find a llama. Carry on. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, I can't wait to be home. I love you, Christy. Good night.